I think at this stage, it's been a year, my skin has gotten a little thicker, but
Yes.
it still stings a little bit because the most
Yeah.
recent roles that I've discovered were I felt I was perfect for. I thought my interviews went well. I made some great connections with folks. And then you get toward the end and it's like this isn't a good fit for, the employer. And like I said, that always stings, but I am still optimistic that I'll find something that is great for me, that's sustainable, and that is still allowing me to do very meaningful work.
Hello, and welcome to Revolutionary Leadership, the bi-weekly podcast that shines a spotlight on the visionary leadership approaches Black women have cultivated for generations, yet are too often overlooked. I'm Dr. Kerry Mitchell Brown, a cultural architect, racial equity strategist, and scholar of organizational change. For more than 20 years, I have helped leaders, organizations, and communities reimagine what's possible when equity and authenticity guide the way. Each episode, we'll dive deep into conversations that illuminate how Black women integrate community care, radical self-prioritization, and collective capacity building into transformative leadership practices. Together, we'll expand what leadership can look like and what liberation through leadership truly means. Because this is where Black women's stories become tomorrow's blueprints. Welcome back to Revolutionary Leadership, where Black women's stories become tomorrow's blueprints. Before we get into our conversation today, I need you to understand the moment that we are in, the moment that thousands, hundreds of thousands Black women are in right now. So through my consulting practice, K&B Consulting, I work with women navigating career transitions, organizational leadership, and equity strategy. And over the past year, I've watched a crisis unfold in real time. Black women calling me, emailing me, asking for strategy sessions, resume help, network connections. Women who did everything right, PhDs, advanced degrees, decades of experience, suddenly locked out of the labor market. And then the national media start documenting what I was seeing in my practice. In January 2026, the New York Times published Black women turn to one another as their career paths suddenly rescind. In March, CNBC followed that with Black women were disproportionately impacted by DOGE cuts. A year later, they're rebuilding careers for themselves and each other. Here is what those articles documented. Approximately 300 to 350,000 Black women lost their jobs across all sectors in 2025. Federal government, private sector, nonprofit. Federal government saw the largest losses, 277,000 total federal job cuts. And Black women, who make up 12% of the federal workforce, were disproportionately impacted. But there were also significant losses in private sector and professional services, healthcare, manufacturing, just across the board. Black women's unemployment hit 7.5% in September of 2025, the highest in 4 years. As of February 2026, it's still 7.1%. That's nearly double white women's unemployment rate of 3.4%. College-educated Black women saw their employment rates drop from 74% to 71% in 9 months, a 3 percentage point decline. White women with bachelor's degrees, less than 1% point drop in that same period. And it's not just job losses. It's private sector, DE&I backlash. Women are removing entire sections from their resume. Some aren't even identifying their race on applications. The New York Times featured Liz Rennie, 34-year-old University of Georgia graduate, who said, "I want to be able to talk freely about my work and not have it to censor myself." Dr. Brooke Douglas, my guest today, is a millennial, a University of Georgia PhD and MPH. She managed $10 million in federal grants at the CDC And she is one of those 300,000 plus women. In February 2026, I worked with her through a strategy session at KMB Consultancy. We worked together on resume translation, power statements, interview preparation, and network activation. And what we discovered together, the translation framework that changed everything for her. That's what thousands of Black women need right now.
Free to go left or right. I'm feeling
Brooke, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I'm happy to be in this space with you.
Wonderful. I am overjoyed. So let me tell folks who you are. Y'all listen up. Dr. Brooke Douglas holds a PhD in health promotion and behavior and a master's of public health from the University of Georgia, a bachelor's of arts in comparative women's studies from Spelman College, and she's a former NSF graduate scholar and received the UGA Outstanding Teacher Award. Brooke has spent more than 5 years at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She managed $10 million in federal grants at the CDC, federal grant portfolio across violence prevention and health equity programs. She oversaw 14 federally funded partners across 8 jurisdictions, managing the full grant life cycle from design through compliance and evaluation. She's a Level 1 Contracting Officer Representative, co-authored the Sexual Violence Prevention Research Priorities Report, and was nominated for the CDC Health Equity Award for her work with tribal communities. Here's the thing. In April 2025, she was riffed. By August, she was officially separated, and she has now been actively searching for nearly a year. Before we go any further, I ask every single guest this question. What are you drinking as we warm up to have this conversation, Brooke?
Kerry, I have my ginger tea with me. It's warm, ready to keep me warm for this conversation. I need it for my nervous system regulation.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I'm actually sipping on pure coconut water right now, mango flavor.
Love. Ooh.
Already had my hot cup of tea this morning, but
Yes.
definitely staying hydrated. 3 rapid fire questions for you so our guests can get a chance to know you. First instinct only, no long answers because we are going to get all the way into it as our time goes on. So, question 1, what is one thing you know now about job searching that you wish you had known 12 months ago?
I'd say that community matters just as much as submitting your applications. Having the right people in your corner is what's going to get you through.
I love that. What is a myth about federal careers or safe paths in general that you would like to retire?
Mm. I think that working in the federal government will not last forever. That's something that I am retiring. I had that belief. I built my entire career around thinking that this was a stable and safe career path, and I've learned that it is very conditional.
Ah, powerful reflection and realization. And that ginger tea you told us about, you said it started as a health practice and became something grounding. Is that the thing that keeps you anchored during this session? Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. And I think just nourishing my body in general. I felt like if there was one thing that I had some control over, it was making sure that I was taking care of my physical body as well as my mental and emotional health. Ginger tea does something for me. It's something that I look forward to every day, gets me out of bed. It's a part of my morning ritual, so I need it.
I love it, and I'm so glad that you have it. So let's go back to the beginning of this chapter. When you took a federal role, what did that represent for you? What did that job mean?
Mm. I felt like I had made it in a sense. I had worked so hard to find a career that I felt was in alignment with what I wanted to do with my life. The work that I have been doing for the last 10 years as a student was finally at its like culmination. Getting all of my degrees, I got my PhD, and now I get to work for a federal public health agency that I admired and I knew was doing wonderful work in the field of violence prevention, which has always been where I knew I wanted to kind of do my lifelong work. And so making it there, I just felt like, okay, now I just have to show everybody that I can do this. I can be a great leader in this space and do meaningful work.
Nice. And the work itself was not small. I mean, federal government, CDC, violence prevention. Tell me what your day to day actually looked like.
Yes. So in my previous role before April 2025, I was working as a health scientist and project officer for a national public health program within the Division of Violence Prevention. I was doing sexual violence prevention work, working with state health departments and coalitions, helping them build capacity to do really important work in their communities. And I loved it.
I can tell that you were really passionate around that work. And that's where you had the 14 partners, 8 jurisdiction, and that $10 million portfolio that you were managing.
That's
Very,
right.
very powerful. And then April 2025 happened. Tell us what happened.
A lot happened that day, I think. I actually really haven't reflected back as much to that moment because it was really destabilizing for me. I woke up one morning, I had got a text from one of my colleagues just saying, "Hey, before you check your email and get ready for work, I just want to let you know that we've all kind of gotten the same message." And it was that we were a part of the reduction in force.
Mm,
It was heavy. I remember just kind of like being out of it that day, not even
yeah.
believing like this was happening. And so it was very tough those days following and still to this day, but very heavy moments I can reflect back to.
Yeah. And what crumbled beyond just the job?
I would say a big part of my identity. I was a student for a really long time before I started working for the federal government. I think it was like a month after I graduated, I went into the federal government. And
Oh,
so
immediately. All right. Got a job right out of college.
I
Yes.
got a job right now. I was so proud of myself. And
Yes. Because that's not everybody's reality.
exactly. And I was so grateful. I came across a lot of wonderful leaders at the agency that I worked for, and they believed in me. They supported me. They helped me navigate a whole new work environment. And it was a beautiful experience. And so I say a part of my identity because like that was who I was. I was a violence preventionist. I was a health scientist. I was a project officer. And that was my day to day, every day, and a big part of who I believed myself to be and was working to become better at. So,
Yeah. And building towards that too. That sense of doing good work would protect you, or having the passion for the work would protect you, or being in line with the right mission will
yes.
protect you. Yeah. I want to name something that I'm seeing in my practice right now. More Black women are saying for the first time, I need help, not just professionally, but strategically. And I think for a long time, that felt like something to avoid. Like asking for help was evidence that something had gone wrong for you. What was it like for you reaching out, doing the strategy session, saying, I need someone in my corner on this?
Yeah, I resonate with the other women who have shared this with you. I definitely have always kind of struggled with asking for help. I've always tried to be independent and resourceful. And I'm like, I got this. I don't want to burden anyone. I was just really happy that we were able to connect and I was able to like really be honest with you about my experience and
Yeah.
where I saw myself and where I wanted to go. The framework that you introduced to me has really changed my whole path and experience thus far. And so very grateful. And I'm glad that I reached out finally. It took me a couple of months. I was like, let me reach out to Kara. Like, what am I doing?
And accepting help is a strategy. And that's what we talked about when I first encountered you at a family function. And I want listeners to hear that. Accepting help is a strategy. It's not from deficiency, it's preparing you for what's next. It is not a concession, it is really architecture.
Mhm.
So let's get into the work. When you first started job searching, what were you putting on your resume? Walk me through how you were describing yourself.
I'm shaking my head because I was putting on my resume everything that I probably shouldn't have in this political climate. I was leading with my content of sexual violence and violence prevention, dropping my agency name here and there, which has its own targeted associations.
Yes,
So
yes.
I wasn't translating the work that I was doing for the right audiences. I had a resume that was perfect for the federal government,
Mhm.
not at all for organizations and nonprofits that I was hoping to pivot into. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was telling it all.
Yeah. So what was happening when you were sending it out?
Honestly, I feel like I was really hitting a wall. I think that I
Mhm.
probably wasn't even making it to hiring managers. My resume has a lot of very sensitive content on it, and I think people either wasn't too sure about what I had done the last 5 years or even kind of cared about it, and so
Yeah.
I think I definitely just wasn't getting through, and it was confusing for folks, not being in, a federal government. So,
And I guess it would have been confusing for you too. It's like, oh, what have I been spending all my time doing? What have I, built these credentials around from an education, perspective? I mean, we used to hear stuff like go to school and make sure you major in something so that you're employable. And there was a period of time where like liberal arts degrees didn't have more. And if I would have said to my parents, I want to major in English, if like you better be able to make sure you can get a job and that, but
exactly.
you did all of the right things. So I suspect that you were probably questioning yourself. And that's
Yes.
where we sat down together in February. And what I noticed immediately was that you were describing your work from the inside out, from institutional language rather than from the outside in, from the skill. And so we built something together, the translation framework, 3 steps. And I want to teach them here because they apply to every woman listening who has ever held work that the market did not know how to see. And there are so many of us that do things that are way beyond our job description that have immense impact that other people get credit for. So let's go through this translation framework, which I've also documented in my forthcoming book, August the 4th, Revolutionary Leadership, as well. So I'm excited about that. And so the 3 steps. Step 1, lead the skill. So before saying anything else, before you name the agency, the division, the program, the organization, you name the transferable skills. Not I worked for a federal public health agency, but I am a senior program manager with 5+ years of federal experience leading multi-million-dollar public health initiatives. The skill comes first, always. Brooke, what was your old power statement and what does it sound like now?
Yes. So my power statement included everything that I could possibly think of. But my power statement now, it starts with that I am a senior program project manager,
Yes.
over 10 years of experience in public health, over 5 years of experience at the federal agency, overseeing and managing multi-funded or multi-site, multi-million dollar funded public health initiatives. And
Oh,
I'm
look at
very
there.
proud of that statement.
Look at there. And you should be. And you should be. And it's clear. It's very clear as to who you are and the impact that you have. So,
Thank you.
step 2, neutralizing the content. This is about replacing language that creates friction, that politically charged language, like your agency name that carried baggage in this moment. Nothing to do with you, but that's just the world that we're living in. Program names that trigger reaction before someone can even evaluate you with functional language that communicates what you actually did. And so, in your instance, is not the rape prevention and education recipients, but federally funded community based prevention program partners. Same work, same scope, and it's legible.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I have to name something right here in this conversation. You have been doing this already. You have been saying federal public health agency instead of naming a specific institution. That is step 2 in action. So tell me about that choice.
Yes, I think a big piece of that for me is around professional safety.
Hmm.
Because of the political climate that we're in, I am, very aware that I have to be strategic around the agency name, the context of the work that I was doing because for me, my work was targeted. My work at this agency was eliminated and dismantled. And so for me, I want to make sure that I can stay safe and still professional out here amongst the chaos.
Yes. And that is exactly the point. The translation framework is not just about the program you ran, it's about how you frame the entire context of your work, including where you work. So you are protecting the mission while making skills visible. That is not hiding, that is strategy.
Hmm.
So, step three, quantifying the scope. Lead with scale. $10 million portfolio says a lot, regardless as to who you held it with, the work that you've done. $10 million portfolio, 14 partner organizations, 8 jurisdictions. That is not just a job description, that is a credential. When
Yes.
you lead with those numbers, someone reading your resume immediately understands this person managed complexity. This person worked at scale. This person has seniority. So I want to sit with something before we move on because I think it would be dishonest not to name it. The translation framework works and it asks you to do something that is genuinely hard to translate, sometimes even to step back from. Language that was a part of your work you believed in. So, in that New York Times article piece that I referenced, it documented Black women removing DE&I from their resumes, weighing what to say in interviews, navigating a labor market that has made parts of their professional identity feel risky to name. Liz Rini, like I said, is a UGA graduate. She said she wanted to be able to talk freely about her work without having to censor herself. The framework is a tool for survival in that environment, and survival sometimes has a cost. How does that land for you?
I completely understand how it feels to have to essentially hide the work that you've been doing. Me coming from a violence prevention background was very personal and intentional. I went into this field with the understanding of how many women were impacted by violence and wanting to be a part of that, a solution for that, preventing that, women and girls. And so not being able to fully disclose that or just kind of being strategic around how we write that in our resume or even have conversations when we get to interviews is challenging, but I do see it as a form of survival and also resistance. I understand that this is a way to kind of keep us out of the workforce. And so if we have a framework tool that is helpful to us getting through the doors and making these changes, we can definitely continue doing the work that we love. It just has to be strategic.
Yeah. And even if we call it something else, right?
Right.
I want to go somewhere a little more personal for a minute because beyond the translation of the work, I am curious about the texture of it. So you manage 14 partners. You were always on, always the point of contact, always representing, always coordinating. You know how we do all the things. And I
Yes.
know something about you that I know about myself. You are a introvert.
I
What did
am.
that actually feel like day to day?
Exhausting. Like, outside of doing the work of violence prevention, which, as you know, is heavy, heavy work, having to, like you say, be on, managing other people's energies and emotions and opinions was definitely taxing on me. Luckily, I was able to have a lot of spaces in between, having meetings and calls with my partners to kind of decompress and build my energy back up. But it is something that I've been thinking about moving forward. Like, what is really sustainable about that external work for me?
I am such an introvert. My office is dark on purpose. And the way that I think about my own work, I provide what's missing. So if people are introverted, I expand. If the room is already running hot, I am myself. But that is calibrated. That is not natural. And there's a cost. So when did you start realizing you wanted something different?
I think about a year into my first full-time job at the Federal Public Health Agency where I was taking on more partners, bigger projects that required a lot of communication. And although I am very great at communicating, it was definitely weighing on me when I would, leave meetings or, come off of Zoom calls and team meetings. I would feel depleted, and I'm like, "Well, I have something else to do, so I have to pick this up,"
Pick
which
it up, right.
yeah, it's very challenging and it's difficult to navigate, especially when the work has to be external and you have to be able to build relationships, and
Yeah.
that's done through communication, so
Yes, yes, a lot of engagement.
a lot of engagement.
How do you give yourself permission to want that? Because I think a lot of Black women have been taught that wanting less visibility, less performance, less always on is somehow a failure of ambition.
Mm.
Tell me about how you are evaluating opportunities different. What are you asking about?
Oh, yes, and this came from one of our conversations, Carrie, but I've started to ask myself just reading job descriptions, like, "Is this sustainable for me?" How
Mm,
much internal versus external work is being asked of me
mhm,
coming into this
mhm.
role, and I weigh it that way because I didn't before, and I probably should
Yes,
have, so
yes. I love that you said sustainability. How do you sustain? And naming sustainability as ambition. I want to be able to sustain this. Like that is my ambition. And introversion as information, not deficiency.
exactly.
And asking the right questions about what sustainability looks like for you specifically. That is not being picky. That is being strategic about your own sustainability as a leader. And
Yes, yes.
sustainability is not a soft consideration, it is really a leadership imperative. We explored your journey, how you're translating what's happening, the weight of being an introvert in a very extroverted world. Let's come into the present. Tell me where you are right now. What does your landscape of opportunity look like?
Well, sometimes I'm really, like, optimistic about the opportunities coming my way, but I have, like, recently just been experiencing some rejection.
Yeah.
And I think at this stage, it's been a year, my skin has gotten a little thicker, but
Yes.
it still stings a little bit because the most
Yeah.
recent roles that I've discovered were I felt I was perfect for. I thought my interviews went well. I made some great connections with folks. And then you get toward the end and it's like this isn't a good fit for, the employer. And like I said, that always stings, but I am still optimistic that I'll find something that is great for me, that's sustainable, and that is still allowing me to do very meaningful work.
Yeah, rejection is sometimes it's hard to let it just sit on your chest. But we do know
Definitely.
that it's part of the process and this labor market is hostile and it's tough. And your next great opportunity is out there, right? You just hadn't found it yet. And it doesn't always come through the jobs that you immediately post. Because I recall you were really excited about an opportunity that came back as a no, but it was a no, not right now. One of the previous episodes of this season, episode 5, was Cheryl McDuffie James talks about formation moments. And no doesn't mean no, it just means no, not right now. And, what does that no, not right now means? Sometimes it means the version of you that applied is not the version that they need. But there is a version that they're looking for. And so opportunities where you didn't get that role, but then there were two more presented, or someone inside an organization is strategically thinking about how can we leverage your brilliance in this work that we are taking up or hoping to take up. And so has that been your experience with unexpected doors as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the part that keeps me optimistic. I'm like, somebody out there is wanting to get me within their organization or utilize my skills and sees my value.
Mhm.
So I definitely resonate with the no, not right now. And I'm holding that one closely during the rest of this season for myself.
Right. And you said something earlier about, you were really confident about the job and it was a really high skill match, something up 90%. The translation is working, that you are finally showing up in the language that people can evaluate. What does that feel like?
That feels really, really good. I've been putting out my new translated resumes, and they have gotten me a lot of interviews. So I can 100% say that it definitely works.
Well, amazing. Congratulations. Well, that's how it starts for your next great opportunity, having a conversation with the right people under
Exactly.
the right conditions. And I want to say something directly. This year was not wasted time. I know it can feel that way, but what you have been doing is a formation process. You have been becoming clearer about who you are,
Hmm.
what you actually want, what sustainability looks like for you,
Yes.
what your skills are when you remove all of the institutional language and to look at the actual capacity underneath, that is not consolation. That is the most important work any leader can do.
Thank you, Carrie.
So I want to move us into our blueprint segment. Every episode of Revolutionary Leadership closes here, where we extract the architecture from everything that we've covered and make it actionable. Three principles. And Brooke, you and I, we're going to go through this together. So I'm going to offer what I'm holding as a principle, and then I'm going to ask you to add.
Okay.
So, principle one, language is information. Translation is not a resume trick. It's the ability to make your expertise legible to the people making the decisions across hostile political environments, across sector changes, across whatever the labor market is doing in this moment is survival infrastructure. If your skills cannot be heard, it cannot be valued. That is not a reflection of your capacity. That is a translation problem. Brooke, in one sentence, what does that principle mean from where you are sitting right now?
I think that has provided me with a lot of clarity, but also clarity around my value and has given me more confidence to go into spaces
Hmm.
to really speak to the work that I've done for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Principle two, no can be a reset. The no that sent you back to the drawing board was also the no that opened up two doors you had not been looking at. No does not always mean not you. Sometimes it means not that role, not that vision, not right now. The formation frameworks lives right here. What looks like an ending is often a redirect towards something more aligned. What does that mean for you specifically?
That the no's that I'm getting is not the end of my story, and
Yeah,
that something beautiful is on the horizon for me.
I love that. And you're exactly right. Principle three, accepting help is a strategy. Black women have always operated within mutual aid ecosystems. Long before networking had a name, our ancestors built systems of collective survival and support. Reaching out during a hard season is not a weakness. It is not a deficiency. It is legacy. And the data is clear. What you experienced was systemic. 350,000 plus Black women, same moment, same labor market, this was not a personal failure. And the response to a systemic crisis is collective strategy. What do you want women who are still in the middle of this to know?
Wow. I like for them to know that, as I kind of just mentioned, that this is not the end of their story, that their work, their experience, their background, their education matters to find community, and trust that there is something to gain and learn from this experience, but also something that will be beyond what they thought was coming, that they really wanted or desire right now, to stay with it and keep going.
Amazing. Here is your call to action. 3 things. First, audit your resume. Look at every power statement and ask yourself, am I leading with the skill or am I leading with the institution? Second, if you are in the middle of a career transition, find mutual aid. There are organizations doing this work publicly. Black Women Rising and others. You do not have to navigate this alone. Third, visit kerrymitchellbrown.com. If you need strategic support, resume translation, career strategy, network activation, K&B Consultancy is there. Brooke, before I let you go, we are recording this in April of 2026. You were notified in April of 2025, exactly 1 year. What do you want every Black woman who is right where you are 12 months ago to know?
That you are not alone. This experience can make you feel like it's only you in it, but like we've kind of talked about in this episode, finding a community, trusting yourself, using the right language to get you into the rooms to, secure the job that you want. It can happen. Believe in yourself and know that we're all here and all rooting for each other.
Wonderful. That is beautiful. Brooke, thank you for showing up, for sharing, for doing the hard work this year, and for building something here that is going to help women you have never met. That is revolutionary leadership.
Thank you, Kerry.
And listeners, I want to hear from you. Connect with me on social media at Revolutionary Lead and visit revolutionarylead.com. Tell me, are you translating your expertise right now? And what are you having to leave behind in the process? What myth about safe paths are you finally ready to retire? And where in your life are you still doing it alone when accepting help could be the strategy that changes everything? Find me, tell me, because your story is tomorrow's blueprints. And now for my favorite part of the show. This is where women share their experience with my teachings.
My name's Elizabeth, and I am listening to Revolutionary Leadership with Dr. Kerry. I see myself as an immersion leader, and I want to, as I get started in a leadership journey, soak in as much information as I can to help prepare me to be a good leader. The one episode that really shifted some of my leadership thinking was the one with Dr. Kerry Ann on burnout. That one really spoke to me because I have experienced some burnout before, and it sometimes might have you question what you're doing. So it really gave me some new ways to think about why I am experiencing burnout and what I can do with it. I really did like as well looking at joy, and I like the way that Kerry said, consider something yummy. That's a new way to look at it, to really, okay, let me check and see, what is this? Is it worth doing? And stick in there. And lastly, I would say the podcast has impacted how I'm leading in a positive way. And the current leading that I'm doing is just having me think differently about some things, and not just going with the flow, and making sure I'm tapping into my needs as well. So that is something that I'm definitely thankful for as I listen to the podcast and learn some things. Why other leaders should tune in. There are some absolute gems in these conversations that Kerry is having with her guests. And I think that if we take the time to listen to them, we'll be like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of this before? Or this is so great. I know exactly where I can take this nugget of information and apply it to my life. So I would definitely encourage anyone, if you're in any type of leadership, and a lot of times we already are in an area of leadership, to listen to this podcast and see how we can work on improving our leadership. There's nothing better than being a leader who recognizes the need to continually improve to be the best leader that they can be for anyone who's working with them.
Thank you for sharing your brilliance, your compassion, and your commitment to Black women, leading with power, ease, and strategy. Thank you for listening to Revolutionary Leadership. If today's conversation sparked something in you, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share this episode with another change maker in your life. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, joy, and revolution.
Free.